Now, right, everybody. Hello. How are you all? It's good, isn't it? I'm not going to start yet. I'm going to explain something first, and then we'll ignore it, okay? Good. Well, it's like a group hallucination, like reality, basically, as he explained. This looks pink to you, doesn't it? Yeah? It's not. That's what we're going to agree. Because for the spirit of breast cancer awareness and possible technical difficulties due to the new memory cards and video cards in Macs, it's going to look pink. You'll ignore it. Got it? OK, good. I'm going to go off stage again now. Remember, we're ignoring that it's pink. Right, a second. Hang on. Ready?
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, there was nothing but a man on a mission to work out how to communicate in a networked world, how to use what we know to discover what we don't yet know, how to bring culture, commerce, and technology together to create a future for brands, and get the President's Prize from the IPA in the process. A bizarre coagulation of Colin Farrell, Russell Brand, Hugh Jackman, Eddie Izzard, and Adam Duritz come together to play the same man, Faris Yakob, in Genius Steals. His story will touch you, even though he can't.
This tagline was stolen from Edwards' hands.
That was good, wasn't it? Not pink, is it? Thank you very much, thank you. Oh, you're very kind, I appreciate it. Right, we'll start now. I'm going to start in a second. This is the hello slide. Now we can say hello to each other. Hello. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's really nice to be here in Tampa. It's also very lucky that I'm here, because as you may be aware, the rest of the country is experiencing what appears to be an ice storm. And all the flights out of where we last were on our endless road trip, which was Nashville, were cancelled after 6 p.m. last night. And we were due to fly this morning at 9 a.m., which wouldn't have worked. But thanks to brilliant logistics and rearrangements done by the team, both ours and yours, I'm here because we got out at 5:55, 5 minutes before the deadline. So my presence is basically a gift. You're very welcome. Now, hello, that's hello. Right, we're going to start. I'm going to talk a bit about interactive things, which seems appropriate, doesn't it? Yeah, because it's an interactive. You got that, right? OK, so there are going to be what appear to be jokes in this talk. It'll be a lot more fun for you, and mostly for me, if you pretend to laugh when I leave pauses that indicate there might be a joke, like it's interactive because it's an interactive conference in it. So, one more time. This is a bit about interactive stuff because it's an interactive conference, in it. You guys are awesome, I love you. Now, if you wanted to make this experience more interactive, because at the moment it's just me talking and you pretending to laugh, that's my Twitter thingy, @Faris. You can aggressively tweet at me and I will ignore it until afterwards. But it'll seem like we're interacting. And then afterwards I can respond and you'll learn things. It'll be great. OK. How you all feeling? Good? Had coffee? Everyone got breakfast? That yoga was good. I really like yoga. It's very relaxing, particularly when things are a bit stressful because everything's gone pink. Which it's not, is it? No, it's not pink. That's right. Well done. Thank you for catching that. I'm using my iPhone to be a clicker. It's quite cool, isn't it? Can you do that? You can if you want to. This is called Idea Pirates, because I told my friend Johnny Vulcan, who founded an agency called Anomaly, that I was speaking at the Gasparilla Festival, because I was excited. And he went, oh, the Pirate Festival. And I went, what? So I looked it up, and it turns out it's a pirate festival. So I thought I'd talk about pirates. Nothing, really? Oh, tough. Thanks a lot, guys, thanks. That's a picture of Doctor Who dressed as a pirate. This will become important later on. Now, because the subtitle of my talk, apart from Idea Pirates, is, why does Doctor Who always have such good ideas? Who here knows what Doctor Who is? Yes, you see, because my wife, who's American, said, what if the Americans don't know who Doctor Who is? And I said, it's an interactive conference. These are my people. Geeks love Doctor Who. And I assume you're all geeks because you're here. So, it's all going to work out fine, Doctor Who, etc. Hey? The new one, I think Peter Capaldi, do you mean on BBC America? Has it not started yet? Don't worry, that's still the old one, so it doesn't matter, it's fine. But thank you for the question, great. Right, I wrote a book. That's good, isn't it? Books are quite old school, but this is a book about the internet and that, so it's quite modern. It's called Paid Attention. Thank you for getting the joke. I always worry about that. Because it's about buying attention, which is what advertising does, and paying attention, which is what you're doing to me, hopefully. A bit, anyway. Yeah, so most of this that follows appears in one of the chapters of my book, which tells you how to have ideas and what they are. So if you aren't paying attention, fall asleep, misunderstand my accent, get distracted, you can just buy the book. Brilliant. Advertising over, done. Genius steals is what I believe. And because it's what I believe, my wife and I, Rosie, that's her, started a company based on a belief system, you see? Because we think beliefs are important. And beliefs about what we do, specifically, rather than just abstract ones. We help people be more creative. We used to work in advertising. I was the chief digital officer of the world's largest ad agency, which sounds very impressive, doesn't it? I founded a digital agency, which made software and websites and widgets and whatnot. And now we do this, because I didn't want to live in one place anymore. So now we live on the road. As Brent said, 100 weeks and counting. For 2 years now, we've been just doing this, moving around, dealing with technology problems and giving presentations and consulting for clients about brands and technology and stuff like that. Good. So now I'm here. That's caught you up with my life. How are you all doing? Good? Okay, right. It's quite hot in Florida, isn't it? It's nice.
It comes down to trying to expose yourself to the best things that humans have done, and then try to bring those things in to what you're doing. I mean, Picasso had a saying, he said, good artists copy, great artists steal. And we have, you know, always been shameless about stealing great ideas.
See, that I know that really well. Because Steve does a lot of really good ums, and I use some of his videos, and I always cut them on the It's true. So that's what I believe. Genius steals. Talent imitates, genius steals. Great artists steal. I believe that ideas are new combinations of things. They are recombinant constructs, remixes of the existing. I believe that originality is a myth, that nothing can come from nothing, and that all ideas have antecedents and inspiration, which makes obvious sense, right? But originality is this weird, romantic notion that we should be creating things, and I don't believe it's true. And I think worse than that, I think it's actually unhelpful. And Steve agrees with me, so I'm probably right. Because Steve knows about stuff, doesn't he? My buddy Steve. God rest his iPhones. Now, and his choice of video cards in the new MacBook Air. Now, the thing about this quote is, right, talent imitates, genius steals, is that it's attributed to lots of different people, weirdly, because it's not real. It's what I call a quotation. It's a quotation that manifested in the culture and then got appended to people. Picasso was one, Oscar Wilde is another, but they didn't say it. It's not true. The closest that exists in textual, and when you're writing a book, you've got to reference things, so I had to look this up. The closest that exists is by T.S. Eliot, who I'm very fond of. He wrote the poem called The Wasteland, great modernist work. And he was a critic, one of the great critics of his time. And he was writing a sort of hagiography, a piece about how amazing an Elizabethan dramatist called Webster was, or Stevens, never mind. A not famous one, not Shakespeare, basically. And someone said, no, he's not, he's rubbish. And he went, tricky. So Eliot tried to establish a criterion upon which to make creative judgments. How can one say this is better or worse with creative artifacts? Upon which criteria can we make these decisions? And as a critic, that's hugely important. He said, immature poets imitate, mature poets steal, which is what evolved into great artists steal from not Picasso. Bad poets deface what they take, good poets make it into something better or at least different. And that to me is the issue, right? In the world of copyright law and intellectual property and that kind of thing, there is a threshold of originality concept. Something has to achieve the threshold of originality to not be sued. Now, very recently, you might remember that the very nice British boy Sam Smith offered to give half of his royalties to Tom Petty because his song, without them realizing it, apparently, sounds exactly like one of Tom Petty's songs. That's the weird nature of copyright and ownership in this culture. Creative artifacts are inherently the same. All songs sound the same. They have bars. They have very, very tight structures. They are like sonnets, rhythmic forms. So endless variation on the form is what creativity is, rather than originality. But that's the point. It's about honesty. You don't want to copy and pretend you didn't copy. You want to copy and revel in it. Quote and source and grab fistfuls of culture and smash them together. That's what I like doing. The idea of originality is very unhelpful. But it's been around for a long time. In ancient Greek legend, Athena is the goddess of creativity, of inspiration. She brings ideas to you. And in appropriate form, she appears this way. In the legend, she isn't given birth. Zeus was quite horny in Greek legends. He used to get turned into swans and bulls and have sex with people and have kids. But in this instance, he didn't do that. Athena is born fully formed from his mind. She just sort of pops out as a fully formed goddess, which is kind of the cultural encoding of how we think about ideas, right? It feels like to us something just in our brain appears, but it didn't. It's just recombining pieces that were already there. In German, there's a word for this. It's called Kopfgeburt. Can you read that? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Not pink, remember? Kopfgeburt. It means head birth. In typical Teutonic style, it's quite sort of clunky and gross. Head birth. But in English, it's the same, actually, if you think about it. The word brainchild. There you go. Brainchild. That's an idea, isn't it? This is also why, by the way, ideas are so touchy in culture, why creative people don't like feedback. Because they birthed something, and when you give birth to something, you're very protective over it. Especially ideas, because they're super fragile things. They look weird, and they're ugly and misshapen, and they sort of squirm around until they're born. So you protect them, but you don't have to, because there's lots of them. Ideas are actually the easy part. Just to finally hammer a nail in the coffin of originality before moving on to Doctor Who-related things, this is a very famous line from one of your very famous presidents, John F. Kennedy, JFK, upon whom the airport was named after, I assume. Now, he said, can I do the accent? Should I try? Maybe, ask not what you... He was like, because I think of him as Chief Wiggum from The Simpsons, which may or may not be true, I don't know. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. I can read it off here, actually. Why do I turn around? That's weird. So that's quite a famous articulation, right? It's an interesting kind of sort of reversal. I think it's called a chiasmus in rhetoricals, but never mind. I think it's called that. It's a nice reversal, and it's a very famous expression. That utterance sort of echoes through humanity, through culture, far beyond that original speech, right? Everybody knows that line. Thing is, it's not his. It's not even vaguely his, because there are no new ideas or new articulations. Cicero, the Roman statesman and orator in about 0 BC, said, you should do something for your country instead of asking what your country can do for you. So JFK's speechwriter read that, thought, I'll just change the wording a bit, bish, bash, bosh, done. Which is how creativity works. Endlessly adapting, accretively building, remixing, and so forth. People tend to, who are creative, think that it's a talent. I think it's more of an exercise, a muscle. It's a process, a way of thinking that can be both taught and kind of learned. Some people do it naturally. Some people make what I call non-obvious connections more naturally than others. But everyone can do it. You just need to give the right support, the right tutelage, guidance. The kinds of ideas that are interesting tend to be based on something. Information is an observation, a thing that happens, you know. You can turn that into an insight. You use the ability to reflect, create insightful observations, and you use them to build ideas. The cool thing about this process, and it is a process, is that it's endlessly iterative. You can just keep doing it. You get a bunch of different ideas, and you smash them together. Look at that, it's nice, isn't it? Moves around and everything, brilliant. And you get a new idea, and you can keep doing this. You can keep building and building and building. You can add a... I was talking at a Wired conference a few years ago, roughly on this point. And some journalist after came up to me and said, oh yeah, well what about the fax machine? And I was like, it's a phone and a printer. That's the easiest one in the world, isn't it? That's the most obvious combination you can think of. Anyway. Interestingly, the structure of thought reflects this. I don't think this is just about ideas. I think the idea of combinatorics is fundamental to how reality operates. Human beings are recombinant. Your DNA strands of your parents spliced together in non-obvious ways. From a finite set of sources, you have an infinite set of possibilities. That's how combinatorics works. It's a branch of maths that implies adding things together in different ways. And thinking is the same. From what we understand about how brains work, which is very limited, to be honest, even with the beautiful fMRIs that look at the movement of oxygen and blood in your brain, it's really, really limited what we know about the brain. It's the most complex thing in the known universe, your brain. Far more neurons exist in your brain than exist stars in the sky. Bizarre, isn't it? It really is bizarre, the scale of infinity wrapped inside your head. But the way ideas seem to work when we can track them is that they're just two thoughts happening at the same time. The way new ideas happen, and they test this by doing certain creativity tests that form connections. The brain has two thoughts that it already knew. It has them at the same time, and suddenly a new pattern is formed, a new engram it's called. And you have an idea, and the idea is simply a combination of things that are in your head, which limits your ideas to the things in your head. That's what Steve was talking about, right? The way to have better ideas is to expose yourself constantly. That was also a joke, you see. Expose yourself. Expose yourself constantly to new and interesting things, ideally diverse new and interesting things, because that is where the fodder, the Lego bricks that make up ideas come from. Now, the other thing you can do is hang out with people that have other Lego bricks in their head and try and get them. One way of doing that is brainstorming. Another way of doing it is this little video. Oh, no, wait, I've got another thing first. I forgot my own flow. I'm all overexcited. Just to hammer the point home of combinations, jokes are really interesting kinds of ideas, right? Because what are jokes? Well, they're things that make us laugh by definition. But why and what? How does that work? The superstructure of all jokes is basically the same. There are exceptions. There are no absolutes in life, right? But if you think about how jokes work, you establish a line, and then there's a punchline. And the way the punchline usually works is it creates a disrupted expectation. The way attention seems to work is that your brain loves patterns, right? It's a massive pattern recognition engine. The reason it likes patterns is because it's trying to build a model of the world to allow you to navigate it, right? So I know if I do this and fall over, I'll fall down because I've learned it before. That's the pattern. Things that interrupt patterns that we know trigger attention formation because the model we have is broken and needs to be updated. So disruption is a hugely important part of ideas and attention. And the combination, the solution to the joke, is the way of connecting two seemingly unconnected ideas together that makes you laugh. Let's do an experiment. I'll tell you a joke, and you'll laugh, as we've agreed, and then I'll explain it. Good. That's a scarecrow. It's not pink, scarecrow. Why did the scarecrow win the Nobel Prize? I was going to say cross the road for a second, forget that. Why did the scarecrow win the Nobel Prize? Anyone? Anyone? Oh, good, okay, great. He was outstanding in his field. See, thank you very much, thank you. Now that's a joke, isn't it? You see, you can tell by the laughter. That's how they work. Now, what happens here is that the word field is being used in different ways, and he's outstanding also. You see, they're pulling two domains, two non-obvious, non-related domains together linguistically. Your brain finds that satisfying and non-obvious, and so you laugh. Next time you hear a joke, you can decompile it for your friends. It's a great trick, very popular at parties. Now, see, that was a joke too. You got it, thanks. Right, now, let's look at this little video. Oh, no, it's not yet. I'm going to stop saying it now. Don't worry about the video. I may have taken it out, I don't know. I was quite drunk last night. To briefly go back to what Elliot was saying, we need a way of saying what's more creative. When we say something, oh, that's very creative, Faris, and your mum says, oh, it's very creative, dear, what do they mean? If I draw a picture of the sun, right, and it's a big yellow circle with a face in it, is that creative? Well, it's obvious, but the face is non-obvious. There's no face in the sun, right? If I draw the sun and it's blue, a nice way of saying that's not right to me would be like, that's very creative, isn't it, your blue sun? Because it's not obvious, right? So it seems like the less obvious the combination you get, the more interesting the idea is, because everyone has mostly the same ideas. Because most of the Legos in most of our brains are the same. We speak English, we're in America, the cultural inputs are mostly, to some degree, homogeneous. Obviously there's variance, there's massive variance, but in the middle, everyone knows who Kim Kardashian is, for example, right? So when I say Kim Kardashian, you think of the same set of things as everyone else who knows who Kim Kardashian is. That picture of her with the champagne on her thing and the naked thing. Yeah, see? So everyone has that same thought. To get past the obvious ideas, you have to work at it. That's what brainstorming is good for. Volumes of ideas. The more ideas you have, the less obvious they tend to be, because you basically get through all the boring ones first. So in what I do, I try and solve problems, sometimes with advertising, sometimes with not advertising. There's a whole world of options out there. So usually what happens is clients have problems, right? Something needs to happen. The client's like, I want to make more money in some way, or whatever it is. Whatever the brief is that you get, the first 10 or so ideas you'll have will be the same as everybody else's. It's like they're boring. They're like, okay, I'm trying to sell coffee. Coffee's good in the morning, and there's a steaming cup maybe, and it's relaxing, and smells like good, and there's beans, and like, yeah, everyone has the same set of stuff, right? It's not until you get to the sort of metaphorical, abstracted connections that you get interesting. Coffee is rocket fuel. Coffee is lubricant. Coffee is the third space of Starbucks. Look, I'm a robot. I'm an android. It's good. Have you seen the new trailer for the Avengers movie? You should watch it. It's really good. Ultron. James Spader's voice makes it. It's brilliant. I really liked it. Where was I? Oh, yeah, androids. Never mind. That's not the point. So the obvious ideas are boring because everyone has the same ones, and I don't care about them. You go a bit further, you get average ideas. Ideas that are fine. Ideas that work, but, you know, meh. At the very edge of ideas that no longer are relevant, that are so weird they don't solve the problem anymore, you get really interesting ideas, fun things, super non-obvious combinations. How are we all doing? Good, right. Let's see what happens now. Ooh, yeah. Now, this bit's great. This is the bit where you need to know who Doctor Who is to get the punchline, but I'm going to talk you through it. So if you don't worry, it's fine. Elliot said, look, at the edges of things to steal, you find more interesting stuff, right? The more remote you get, the more interesting the combination is, the less likely it is that you will know it. If I quote, for example, from Eliot, you might not have read T.S. Eliot's criticism essays, and so that's interesting-ish, possibly, to you. He said, the setup is quite good here, a good poet will usually borrow, steal from our language, from authors remote in time, alien in language, or diverse in interest. So, why does Doctor Who always have such good ideas? And if you don't know Doctor Who, to explain the punchline to this, he does. Here's the answer. He always has, because he doesn't use weapons or anything, right? At the end of the episode, every time, like MacGyver, he has an idea which solves the alien invasion problem, whatever. And it's always a thought. It's never like he blows something up, right? He has an idea, and he solves the problem at the last minute because he knows, like, these things. So how does he have such good ideas? Well, we know the answer to this now, don't we? You're all ready for this. It's going to be great. Well, we know he has things remote in time. He's a time traveler. See? Good, thanks, guys. We know he's an alien, and he deals with aliens, so he knows he's still from aliens in language, right? Yep. It's working so far, thanks, guys. Yeah. And because he regenerates, for those of you who don't know Doctor Who, he does regenerate, into 13 different people, he's got diversity of interests. Hey! Thanks a lot, guys, thanks a lot. Well, anyway, not as geeky as I was hoping. Yeah, so because he's an alien who travels in time, speaks with aliens, and has a lot of different interests, he is at risk of having better ideas than you or I. Because he traverses the timelines, because he knows so many things from so many different domains, he can create the most non-obvious connections and solve problems. People who live at the intersection of worlds, and in his case literally, but in our case metaphorically, are at much higher risk of having better ideas. If what you do dominantly is arts-based, get an interest in science. If you like engineering, go and do some painting. The more broad and diverse your interests are, the more your Lego set becomes interesting, the more your ideas become awesome. And if you don't have enough Legos in your head, get some friends, like this. Oh yeah, wait, I should explain this. This is a company called Synapse. I'm going to show you this video now. Remember that video I mentioned before? It's this. I probably should explain it thinking about it. It's a video about ideas that we helped create because this company we advise, and we are, hi love, that's my wife there. We're all friends, right? Oh, thanks very much, you're very kind. Yeah, we are advisors of this company, investors in it and stuff, because we believe strongly it was built around ideas that we espouse and have espoused for many years. So this explains what I've been talking about a little bit, and then we'll move on.
How do we come up with ideas? Ideas are new combinations of things, connecting stuff that wasn't connected before. We do this instinctively, all the time. We're limited by what we have in our heads, though. We can't connect with stuff we don't know. But what if we could see other people's connections? Our chances of coming up with the big eureka would expand like the universe. And this is precisely what Synapse does. It allows us to share our mental associations. You can navigate through connections made by people all over the world. And in fact, the more irrelevant they seem, the better. This isn't stealing ideas. You still have to do that bit yourself. But you'll be way outside the boring box. Then you can add your own associations for everyone else to see and improve the gene pool. Join CMAPS. Think with other people's heads.
See, that basically sums up the last 20 minutes quite well, doesn't it? No, remember that. So if you get stuck, have a look at CNAPS. Inspiration Engine, very helpful. I find it helpful anyway. Right, now, I used to work a lot in advertising. Now, advertising is a kind of domain, right? It's an area of solutions that solve certain kinds of problems. Brands are this idea that exists in between products and services and ads, right? This sort of totality of perception creates this thing called brand, which has a weird set of effects on purchase behavior and stock price and all kinds of interesting stuff that we don't really understand, but we try and make with ads and that. Thing is, the world kind of got more interesting recently, and that's why, partially at least, we changed what we do, because we want to try and think more broadly than just ads. Specifically, oh, there you go. This is kind of how I think about brands at the moment. It's a model. It's a way of thinking. It helps me structure ideas. Because brands are kind of a belief, I think, about the world and how the world could be different and how my company will make the world different, right? If you don't want to change something, there's no point in doing anything. As the Buddha said, desire is the root of all suffering. Any Buddhists in the house? I'm not a Buddhist, I'm just interested. Anyway, okay. No Buddhists in Tampa. Buddhist jokes don't work in Tampa. Good to know. Sorry. So there's lots of things companies can do that make me not angry, right? Most ads are a bit rubbish, aren't they? Kind of. They don't have to be, but they kind of are because, you know, blah, committees, etc. Not offending people apparently is a good thing in this country. Rubbish. That's silly. Offending people is fun. If you're not having a point of view, what's the point in saying anything? You know what I mean? Like, why bother? Anyway, companies do things, right? Services, products, that kind of stuff. But they can do other kinds of things too. Actions, they can create tools to help people make lives better. That's what I'm interested in. Experiences that make people's lives better and stories that make them interested and happy and fun. So I want brands that I work with to do more kinds of things. To give you an example of how this, squares and arrows, turns into stuff, I will show you this. No, I won't. I forgot. OK. First, I'm going to take a little brief detour into having a go at HSBC. Who here works for HSBC? I have to ask this because last time I did this talk in Dubai, or this bit of this talk anyway in Dubai, they were there. And they were really offended. And they left. And it was bad. I felt awful. I don't mean individually, people, but HSBC is a terrible, terrible, terrible company. So nobody here, right? Any affiliation to their agencies, any friends or relatives? I'm not joking about this. I'm going to really have a go at them now. All right, good. Rosie and I have been traveling the world for a year and 50 weeks. If you've been on an aeroplane in the last 5-10 years, you'll have seen HSBC ads on the air bridge, right? It was the world's biggest media buy. They bought access to nearly every air bridge and every airport in the world, and they put ads in them. About middle of last year, this campaign launched. It's called Be Part of the Future. Now, to show you why sometimes I find advertising a bit tiresome, if not entirely obvious, can you see what this is? It's a bee. Now, you see what they've done here? It's quite smart, isn't it? The word here, be, part of the future, sounds like this word be, and so they've reinforced the be statement with a picture of a bee. Now, this is the world's biggest bank. They have a lot of money. They can afford very good ad agencies, and yet they've got this bee. Jesus. Now, if I was HSBC, right, which I am not, but if I was, I can understand why I would be ushering consumers to consider the future. Because about 2 years ago, HSBC received the largest ever financial fine for knowingly laundering narco-terror money out of Mexico for over a decade. Thing is, though, it doesn't stop there, because they have hits keep on coming. They rig the exchange rates in Europe to their own benefit. They have been aggressively in Switzerland helping rich people avoid taxes all over the world. They're basically a criminal organization, which is hilarious, right? But we can't do anything about it because they're too big to fail. Michael Tobai in Rolling Stone this month has a really good article about how they genuinely just have been doing this for a long time, and there's nothing we can do about it anymore. Isn't that funny? Anyway, so I thought not to focus on that, right? Give them a chance. They're saying, look, we're moving forward. We've got this bee thing going on. It's great. And we're going to move forward into not being criminals and helping the world and all that good stuff. And I said, well, fair enough. I'm going to be non-cynical. I'm going to take off my advertising cynicism, and I'm going to say, I believe that they want to be a better company, be part of the future. But maybe they could have better ads. So I had to look at this. And I said, well, hang on. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe this is just an entry point into a much better set of ideas. Because look, on their poster is a URL. So I was like, well, hang on. Maybe this isn't like an instruction for HTC. Maybe it's an invitation saying, be part of the future with us. We are the world's largest financial organization. We have access to technology and genius-level intelligence people. We have software. We have money. We see the flows of culture through every pocket of reality. We know what's going to happen, and we can help you get there. We will use our might, and we will drag you gently into the future together. And I thought, well, that's OK. Let's do that. So I used my smartphone, because I am a modern business traveler. In fact, I live as a modern business traveler. That's all I do. I am a perfect business traveler. So I took my smartphone, and I thought, let's have a look at this website then, eh? Assuming the worst, obviously. I was pleasantly surprised to see that their website works on mobile. I was like, plus 1 point. So you've got minus infinity plus 1 at the moment. That's good. Never going to get high HPC, am I? HPC, shame, banks have money, but never mind. So I thought, well, that's good. Mobile site, good, that's good. Maybe on this site will be these tools and services and information that leverage the might of your huge enterprise to help me access the future with you. And I saw this, and if you look closely, it says, a look at Be Part of the Future, HSBC's brand campaign. And I said, what? Hang on. And I've just clicked on a link from an ad, and it appears to have come. Now, that can't be right. But it is. It's taken me to a list of ads. You can, at the site, download PDFs of their ads. And I was like, are you sure that's a good idea? No, it is. There's a poster of one of them. So their ads, if I do all the work of going to their website, take me to their ads. It's just bizarre, isn't it? It's weirdly circular. And I think that's because we got stuck in this domain problem, right? It's a category error. Because the people working on the ads are not related to the people who are working on the tools, products, services, actions, and so forth. And so they're stuck in this little box. And all they can think of to do is like, well, what if they click on the ad, and the people love our ads so much, they want to put them as a PDF on their phone, which isn't even really possible? Shame, isn't it? So anyway, if you're not going to do that, you could do this instead.
When BMW was launching its first ever electric vehicle, the BMW Active E, it was breaking into a category in which it had almost no presence. So instead of approaching the launch in a traditional way, we completely reinvented what a car launch was. The traditional ad campaign was replaced by an experiment in collective engineering, one we called Activate the Future. In the first phase of the experiment, we created a conversation with our target, not about a car, but about a topic we knew they were passionate about, the future of mobility. We partnered with a host of thought leaders to discuss the topic in a series of short films called Wherever You Want to Go. As this broader conversation began to resonate, we then moved into the second phase of our experiment. We created the BMW Evolve app to directly counter the biggest barrier with this new product sector, range anxiety. 90% of US drivers drive less than 100 miles a day, and instead of telling that to consumers, we showed them. The app tracked actual driving habits and highlighted the benefits a driver would experience if they switched to an electric vehicle. Then, on an accompanying site, bmwactivatethefuture.com, drivers could also create manual trips, sync mobile app data, and use the EV dashboard to see how switching to an EV can save time, money, and CO2 emissions. As anticipation for the launch of the Active E grew, we created a video to serve as a rallying cry for the upcoming field trial, drive application signups, and introduce the term Electronaut as a title for our Active E drivers. The video was distributed through BMW's social channels, targeted blogs, and the Active E website. Hand raiser signups immediately spiked. The video also introduced our BMW Electronaut iPad app, designed to recruit drivers at auto shows and dealers. It helped a range of users, from those unfamiliar with EVs to those who wanted more information on the Active E, determine if they were ready to become a BMW Electronaut. Those who were could apply for a vehicle right from the app. Once the reservation process opened, BMW received twice as many applicants as there were cars. within just the first 9 hours. Within 2 months, every car was sold. But that was just the beginning. Phase 3 is the field trial itself, and throughout the experience, BMW will broadcast the Electronaut stories to give insights into the electric vehicle lifestyle and inspire future BMW EV drivers. And the data collected along the way, from the BMW Evolve app to driving habits of Electronauts, will be used by BMW to inform its next generation of EVs.
Yeah, so that's how I turn those, well, that's how I tried to turn those boxes and arrows into a set of ideas that solved a problem. For, in this case, BMW at my last agency. And it worked, apparently, so that's nice. The reason they let me do it, just as a slight side note, is they didn't have any money, really. They had a very small amount of money for this project. And this solved that problem, because it turns out documentaries are great, because you have to pay talent. So all the people did it for free. Brilliant. So those boxes and arrows, right, I've now rendered as these icons. Stay with me. I know it's tricky. Boxes and arrows become icons. Now, the reason I do this is because I'm trying to help you by giving you some tools, right? Those are tools, those are services, those are films or content or whatever. That's an ad, that's a product, and that's an action. That's the palette that I think about when I try and make ideas for companies. And the way I do it is by recombining them. So that's the palette, right? If you get them and you smash them all around, look at that, it's moving and everything. Brilliant, isn't it? Now, you move them around, and then you try different combinations. And the different combinations gives you, like a synapse, a starting point for an idea. Let me tell you what I mean. Let's just take one combination. Take content, quite a big idea at the moment, right? Content. Brands are into it. Everyone's making all this content. You guys are churning out content all the time on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and Yik Yak and whatever else is good in Tampa. And tools. Tools are things that help people do stuff, right? Tools can be cognitive tools, like the one I just showed you, a recombination engine for ideas, or they can be actual tools, like hammers, or they can be software tools. Often they're software tools, like apps. So if I was trying to make an idea out of content and tools, what could it look like? Well, this is one. This is the GIF generator from Madmen. Now, I believe this is some sort of sports thing. I don't really understand sports that much, but American football is very popular in this country. Weirdly, do you call it football? You do? Okay, right, I thought you might. It's like Chinese food in China. Just food. Right, so this is a meme generator. Now, what does that mean? Well, memes are like virally idea things. Don't worry about that, it's annoying. But Google, with an agency, basically launched the new version of Madmen, the PlayStation game with EA, created a thing which is really, really smart. It's called a meme generator. What it does is it makes little GIFs, dynamically makes little GIFs in real time. It pulls data from live football games, and it uses plays to feed into actual GIFs as they run, plus you can write your own. So people that like sports, I imagine, go onto this thing, and they go, well, that's quite good. That game I just saw, my favorite team, the blue team, they have just done something great with the ball, I imagine, and now it's in a GIF, and I can send it to my friends and put it on my Facebooks, and that's great. Or I can write my own about kings and gods, whatever. So that's cool, isn't it? It's a content tool, helping someone do something with content. That's nice. Here's another one. It's called #MyAss. You can't say ass in an English accent, because the word is arse in English. So #MyArse sounds weird. #MyAss. Thanks. This thing is cool. It's a music video. It's an interactive music video for some French lad. And what it does is it pulls your Instagrams into the video dynamically. So it makes the video about your experiences. Do you want to see my experiences? You do? Good. I thought you might. This may be tricky, technology and all that, so bear with me. What I'm going to try and do is live connect to the internet. Hang on. Hang on. Come on. There we go. Click. Watch the video. Come on. Click. Come on. OK, that's good. It's working. Pulling from the power of the Wi-Fi. Is it? Oh, it's a bit stuck. Hang on. There we go. A bit of Wi-Fi. So you see, the conceit is the record box is a DJ. EDM is very popular in Europe. and he's playing the records, you see. And because it's linked via the API to my Instagram account, when he starts rifling through the records, there's my wife on the sleeve. That's good, isn't it? And there's a picture of some art I saw. And that's R2D2, I like Star Wars, I'm a geek, obviously. Think about unicorns. That's in Lisbon, I think. That's a lake near Nashville called Old Hickory. It's very pleasant. And that's some tomatoes from a place in Aix-en-Provence that we were at. So it's cool because it's a video about me, making it more interesting. human beings being quite vain. It's like seeing photos of other people's holidays. You're like, why would I care? Photos that I'm in are obviously intrinsically interesting. Photos of everybody else are very stupid. The big problem with Facebook. Now, so that's cool, I think. Now, this is where I get to the future bit, I think, right? You still all good? You with me? Everyone happy? Let me know. Change the volume or whatever. Experiences are quite interesting to me. What an experience constitutes is an interesting set of ideas to me. Because we live in this experiential world, and I want to help companies build experiences that make lives better in some fashion. I want to be, my big aim in life is to reposition advertising from things people find annoying to things people find are great. That's what I want to do with my life and career. And travel a lot and have a nice time, obviously, but, you know, professionally speaking. If I could leave the advertising industry and people hated it a bit less, job done, really. So if you take all these things together, ads and content, tools, services, products, customer service, you can engineer holistic experiences. And that's what I'm interested in, thinking about the whole interaction between people and companies in a sort of pleasant way that makes your life better. What does that look like? Well, I've been thinking a lot about branding and digital and stuff, right? And interactive things, like you will probably work in interactive in some capacity, technology and companies. You probably work for someone, I imagine. Yeah? People here have jobs. If you just wandered in off the street, you're like, oh, it was warm, it was raining outside, I got some coffee, it was great. No, okay, well, so I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think if we could think holistically about customer experiences, people would get less angry at brands and companies, right? Because the call center operator would be the same as the ad. It would be the same, like, promise. It would deliver the same experience. It wouldn't be this horrible disconnect where you promise to be good and then aren't. So one of the ways of thinking about this is this user experience. So there's a big thing in design culture called user experience design, which almost is tautological, isn't it? It's like, design it so that the user can use it in a good way. It's like, well, that's the point, isn't it? That's the whole point of everything. But apparently we forgot that until recently, and we've just invented it again. Let's design things around people to make things actually work. Brilliant. What a genius idea. It sounds silly, but it's not, because sometimes good experiences are not like pretty experiences. And ad people, like a bit me, love beautiful things a lot, right? We like art, we like prettiness, and we want things to be pretty. But sometimes that gets in the way of the experience. Let me give you an example. Doing it again. Click. Right. This is a website. Familiar with websites, yes? Good. That was a joke. God, come on. Thanks, everybody. You guys are killing it. Now, this is a website for Sony, right? And you look at it, and it's really beautiful. It's using a technology called parallax scrolling to give the impression of exploding things up and down. So as you scroll up and down the page, things blow up in 3D, in really expensive, high-definition, three-dimensional modeling. Things blow up and expand, and they go up and down. Look at that. It's great. Go and have a look at it. It's a really beautiful site. It really is. And I looked at it for a while, and I was really impressed with it when I first saw it. I said, this is a really cool website. I like this website. It is a good thing. It is creative, I have decided. But I couldn't work out what it was for. And that really weirded me out at one point, because I like technology. And I was just looking at this website going up and down with the slowly, in and out, in and out. And it was trying to tell me something, but I couldn't work out what. Because I couldn't be asked to pay attention to the words or the things. I just liked looking at it so much. I'm just like, woo, yay. And that occurred to me that maybe that wasn't a good website then. That maybe it wasn't for me, it was for them. Maybe the problem was that the website was for Sony and not for the user. And that maybe if I was the user, which I am, I'd rather they spend the money on making products that work better together, rather than really beautiful websites that I don't need. In the UK, the Design Museum hosts an annual design conference. It's called, brilliantly enough, Designs of the Year. Branding is very important, people. That's good. Now, the winner basically is an indication, like all awards are, of our current concerns, of what interests us at the moment in culture. And designers are at the sort of leading edge of a lot of pieces of culture and technology. So this is some of the winners of the last few years. The Kinect, motion interactions computers, very interesting. Obama's Hope poster by Shepard Fairey, A New World Revolution in Culture. The Lumen bulb, which is a very beautiful halogen energy-efficient bulb. Whatever the last thing was, I didn't see it. What was it? Hey? Oh, right, yeah. So the One Lap Poor Child by Fuse Labs and Yves Bihar and Negroponte. Again, these things encode hopes and dreams, right? You can feel the hopes and dreams encoded in them. Do you want to guess what won last year? Anyone? Any designers in the house? If you are and you don't know, you should. Not to make you feel bad. I mean, it's all right, it's English, doesn't matter. Forget about it, stupid. The winner last year, the best designed thing in the world last year was, that says, see, guess, ready? Very exciting, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Was gov.uk, which is the government website in England. Now, I know it's weird, isn't it, right? Why? Because it's brilliant. I'll tell you why. Have you tried to do anything with your government recently online? Have you? Pay taxes or anything? How's that worked out for you? Has it been a fun experience? Have you enjoyed it? I suspect not. I recently applied for the Global Entry, which is a great program, I imagine, when I get it through. But the actual interface, the website, is like a specific website with its own interface paradigm, its own like thing and login and whatnot, and it's like, it's very complicated, isn't it? What gov.uk did was, about 3 years ago, a report was written saying, oh, websites are rubbish. Let's not have any more, let's just have one. There was like 60 or 70 websites, one for each department in government. So if you wanted a driver's license, it was a different website, then a visa, then a birth certificate, and that's just a real pain in the ass for people. So gov.uk blew them all up and turned it into one site. It was described as being, it makes life better for millions. That's what design is, not just beautifulness, but making life better, right? It's the winner, it looks elegant. Do you want to see what it looks like? The best designed thing in the world. Right, yeah, well, glad you do. Thank you very much, thank you, that's great. That's the best designed thing in the world. And it is because it works. It's simple, it's clear, it's one login, it's 3 steps to get anything you need. That's what I find interesting. The way they talk about this, and this is the interactive summation. Have you had a nice time? Have you? Come on. There you go. Is anyone else speaking British? Because if not, this is going to be the best that you get. I'm British, you see. You love the accent, you Americans. Now, digital services that are so good, people prefer to use them. You should be making apps for your bank so that I don't want to go to the bank. You should be making apps for your telecoms company that I never, ever have to be on hold. In fact, let's expand this to a general rule, okay? My general rule about customer service is, if I am paying your company money, I should never, ever have to be on hold. Thank you very much, thank you, thank you. Because I'm paying you, so why are you wasting my time? You call me back, email me, tweet me, but never, ever put me on hold. The way that this is created at the government is called GDS, Government Digital Services. It's a mix of developers, writers, designers, policy, comms, operations, all sorts. So they have better ideas, because there's many different domains smashed together in one unit. Take a small government department and a web shop and a creative agency, and you get something like GDS. And those interactions of different things have made something beautiful and useful. So that's what I guess I want to leave you with. Beautiful, useful things would be great if we could have more of those, wouldn't it? And also, no more being on hold for me. Thanks very much. So I think that's it, really. I've really enjoyed my time here. I appreciate your not seeing pink. You can return to seeing pink after I get off. This color, for example, not pink. Orange, yeah. It's all, what about that dress? You see that dress? The blue gold. It's white and gold. Anyway. Yeah, so I thought I'd just leave you with, I think the very last thing is a trailer for my book, somewhat indulgently. But I made it. It has quite a good soundtrack, you know. The final point, before the trailer for the book, is that the intersection of things is interesting, right? So the way GDS describes it is the product is the service is the marketing. Something that's so good to use, so pleasant to use, that it kind of advertises itself. The Better Mousetrap thought, you know? That's what we're aiming for. So with that, I'll play you the trailer for my book. We'll all pretend that it's really good. I'll say goodbye. We'll get a drink afterwards. Everyone has a nice day, okay? Here we go. It's about attention. See what I've done here? Brilliant. tried to read it, bless her. She really did. She's like, I don't really care about this stuff. Thank you very much for your time. I really enjoyed it. If you would like to email me or like a copy of this deck or whatever like that, email that email address, hello@geniusdeals.co, not .com. The cool kids are .co nowadays. .com is lame. And every week, Rosie and I curate the most interesting things on the internet, the most interesting, disparate, non-obvious Legos you can imagine, and slight updates about our weird traveling lifestyle. You can get it every week in email format, handy email format at this website, strandsofgenius.com. I am done. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, okay, yeah, sure, I don't mind doing that. Do you want to do questions? All right, why not? Okay, I thought maybe I ran out of time or anything, but that's fine. All right. Turns out we can do questions. Why not, eh? I'm coming back. You thought you were rid of me, but you are not. Okay, I'm back. If you want to ask questions, I'll sit here, and if you don't, I'll tell you stories about traveling if you want. Anyone? Oh, good, there we go. Oh, yeah, innumerably, I mean, vast quantities of money. I couldn't give you an actual figure, but the media buy originally was like $500 million nearly. Oh, sorry. The question was, how much money does HSBC spend on that ad campaign with the bee? I said, I don't know, and I can't in good conscience answer, but I did know the media buy was a bespoke media buy they constructed with WPP about 5-10 years ago. It was about $500 million. It's a huge amount of money. Well, yeah, B, yeah. Billy with a B. Thank you very much. That's nice, yeah. Anything else? Anyone else? Feel free. Yeah, go for it. Yes. So it ran for about 3. Sorry, repeat the question. You'd think I'd be better at this, right? Since I do it all the time, but I am not. The question, very kindly, was how long did the BMW campaign I showed take to put together and run for, and what were the resources required for it? Well, so as I said, it was a limited budget. All in, it was less than $1 million. Yeah. TV is expensive. Don't do TV. Internet, brilliant, free. Not free at all. But listen to me, the campaign ran for 3 years. It took about, I'd say, 9 months to put together. It launched, and then it ran hard for a year, and then the follow-up was basically the Activees were in market for 3 years. And so over the course of the next 2 years, we sort of did regular meetups with them, filmed them, and basically showed people what it's like having an electric vehicle in real life. And then, if you may have noticed, as of now, the new ones have launched, the i8 and the i3, the sort of transformer-looking cars. They are the children that were informed by some of the data from the experiment. He was first, sorry. Yes, please. Yeah. And it's tricky because at the time, in order to get an electric car, you had to have a certain kind of, you had to be close enough to the generator on the last line for it to work, because the technology was still in beta, essentially, so they had to go into your house. This is brilliant, actually. In order to find out, you had to apply for the Active-E, and then they'd go to your house, they'd charge you $100, and they'd test your power, and if it couldn't work, you couldn't get it, and you didn't get your $100 back. And I was like, no, that's not good, we cannot do that to people, they'll get really angry. So part of our budget was taken to pay that $100 as well, because I was like, no, people don't want to pay money to be told they can't have cars. No one likes that. They're like, it's fine. No, it's not. Germans, eh? God, don't. Anyway, sorry. Yes, sorry. Yeah. It's a really good question, and a great deal has been written about it. What? Oh, yeah, sorry. Can you just shout the questions loudly from now on? The question was, and it's a really good question, why do you think the dress, a picture from Tumblr posted to BuzzFeed, became the most viral moment of this year? Why did it gain so much attention so rapidly? There's no real answer to how this works, but there's bits of answers, right? Because when things become really popular like that really quickly, they're subject to loads of weird forces like cumulative advantage and randomness. But my point of view is, people like taking sides, right? And so it's very divisive when you can sit in front of the screen with my wife like I did and see something different. Our brains love optical illusions, they love puzzles, because they show us that the reality that we're experiencing is a fiction. It's a filtering, right? The color, it doesn't exist, right? Color is not a real thing. When something is a color, like not pink, when something is yellow, what you're actually seeing is only yellow light is bouncing off it. It absorbs other lights colors. So things that actually have colors, they just bounce off certain wavelengths of light, and our eyes turn them into things we call colors. Philosophically speaking, there is no way for me to know that what I see as yellow is what you see as yellow, as a color. The shades can be very different. I think, for example, that my wife's colorblind. She sees things that are purple as pink, I believe. Like her hair, for example. What color? No, that's not the point. So it's a variance, right? But because of that, it exposes one of those weird tricks. And because the way our eyes look at color is to do with shade, people that see it as white assume it's in shade, and people that see it as blue think it's in light, right? That's why our brains are doing it. You can't see both at the same time. It flips backwards and forwards. It's like, well, it doesn't actually, but Necker cubes do. You have those illusions with the cubes. You can see it as one way or as another, but you can't see both at the same time. Your brain doesn't allow it. That kind of stuff's interesting to people. So it creates teams. It's a picture. It's very simple to share, and it's, you know, conversation fodder. Please. That's a really good. The question was, do I always try to get the underlying metaphor when I begin an ideation process? And the answer is basically yes. I think that we think associatively, and therefore I think that our brains create metaphor very naturally. In fact, Aristotle said this. He said the most important thing by far is to understand metaphor, because it understands the similarity in difference. In Asian culture, there's an expression that I find increasingly powerful, same, but different. And one of the best things our brains is good at is abstraction. It finds similar patterns in different aspects of reality and uses those patterns to make different patterns. So, yes, I think maybe that everything's a metaphor, potentially. I'm not sure. And what is a metaphor anyway? Who knows? Sorry, that's a joke. See, what's a metaphor? Metaphor. Anyway. Anyone? Bueller? Thank you very much. Thank you. Are we done? Any more? No? Okay. More questions, please? Hello? Someone pointing? No? Go for it. Yes. Yes. 100%. So to reiterate the statement that was made, she referenced The Wisdom of the Crowds, which is James Surecki's book about how large groups can guess random numbers quite effectively. But the idea is, because the ideas that we have are restricted to our own heads, the only interesting ideas, the big ideas, the world-changing ideas come through collaboration. And we believe this 100%. We call it scenius. Scenius is the genius of a whole scene. It's not our word. Brian Eno invented it in the 70s. But we love it, because we think that all the simple problems have been solved. All the one-mind problems are done. For us to progress from this stage onwards, because stuff has got super weird, you guys, right? The internet, very strange. The world, suddenly connected. Quantum mechanics suggests very strongly that reality isn't real, that it blips in and out of existence all the time at a subatomic level, which is so difficult to get your head around. In fact, Niels Bohr, the nuclear physicist, was one of the fathers of quantum theory, said, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics, which is quite a great little koan, isn't it? So yeah, a lot of the work we try and do is to understand how collaboration can work more fruitfully, because people are inherently social and inherently selfish. Those two pulls are the dynamics of human interaction, right? I want to be unique as part of a group, which is like, that's what everything is about in human life, right? Like the way we dress and the tribes we belong to. You're like, I want to stand out but be belonged. I want to be in but out, you know? So if we could all work together better, everything would be great, wouldn't it? Yep, done? One question or done? One more question. See how good I am at reading these signs. Brilliant. Yes, sir. Yeah. 100%. So the question is, how do you sell ideas to corporations who have a tendency to be very conservative, to think by committee, and where they tend to not want to do anything until it's been done before? So the brief you often get when you've got my kind of job, which is like, I was the chief innovation officer for an ad agency at one point, and they're like, so, Faris, we want something very innovative that's never been done before that you can prove will work. So yeah, there's a couple of different ways we do. We actually do a bunch of work in this area, because how you package ideas is important, right? I think. when you can decompile ideas into their constituent elements, I call it idea archaeology, you have a way around this problem to some degree. It's not foolproof, so you're right, because big companies like being fast followers. They love the idea that someone else does it, creates the market, breaks it, and then they do it. I mean, if you like Apple, right? Apple didn't invent MP3 players. They didn't invent touchscreen tablets. They just do them better once the technology's in the right place, right? They're better at combining the elements together. So one way we do it is go, well, look, this idea has never been done before, which ticks the first part of your brief, we think. But as we know, there are no original ideas, right? So inside this idea, nested, there are components we can unnest. Before this was invented, let's say, someone had to invent multi-touch touchscreens. So we can say that we know that bit works. So selling an idea to a client, right? We can't tell you that this documentary series and set of applications is going to sell these cars. But I can show you the people that we're trying to sell cars to like documentaries of this nature. And I can show you that people are worried about this particular problem, range anxiety, of driving your car to work and then not having a power station there with an electric charger so it just dies on its ass. We know that's going to show. So that solves that problem. So the more you can decompile it, you can sort of show precedent of each piece. That's how we try and do it. And we try and make it sound cool and that as well. Thank you all very much. That was really fun. I really liked it. Thank you. Thank you.